بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I see your mouths moving, but I didn't really hear anything. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Welcome to the parent Q&A portion of the Youth Director application process. In the hour before this, you were able to see a sneak peek of what kind of education your girls would be exposed to should I be selected for this opportunity, alhamdulillah. I'm only going to spend about 15 or 20 minutes talking about myself, my qualifications, my philosophy, my mission. Number one, because I hate talking about myself. And number two, because I think it's hypocritical for me to sit here and say that I want to cater to the community and then not give the parents that platform to tell me their concerns, their comments, their questions. So at the end of my little segment here, I'm going to then open the floor and it will become open Q&A, inshallah. Okay, Bismillah. So the title I've decided to name this segment is, of course, The Art of Being Unapologetically Muslim. And as you will see when I talk about my philosophy today, with dealing with today's youth and my mission for the role, everything can be circled back to this one idea. A little bit about my background. Baba is Pakistani and my mom is Bosnian. I take a lot of pride in being mixed, especially, in the current state that we're in. I think there's a lot of, you can only marry that, the person from your own culture, and a lot of that still exists. And so, alhamdulillah, my father was able to break that. And I grew up in America being a mixed Muslim girl. Growing up, we moved around a lot. I lived in Nevada, Texas, Virginia. Prior to that, I believe my parents were in North Carolina, out of all the places, and New Jersey. And so what that means is I didn't grow up with that suhbah, right? So that connection to the musalla, that connection to the masjid, I didn't really have that growing up. Because anytime I would develop a strong connection with someone, my family and I would have to leave, right? That's just what comes with moving and everything. And so I think how that translates to my work today, because I didn't really know that suhbah growing up, I know how much it would have helped if I had that growing up in my preteens and my teenage years. And further pushing the point that it is necessary to find someone who can be consistent in their work for this position. Eventually, alhamdulillah, I did find that connection I was craving, but it was short-lived. I believe it was in my freshman or sophomore year of high school, and it was with Sister Naida Yakirlich at the Corona Masjid, who is the female youth director at that masjid. And she was able to foster that suhbah, right? That connection, that sisterhood that we had. We cried together, we laughed together, and for the first time as a teenage youth, I felt heard and seen. And I have to be very honest, with everyone here, I was not practicing whatsoever as a teenager, but I began to start practicing when I was given that opportunity, when I was given that connection, first and foremost with my youth leader, and then obviously by extension with my peers. And it happened very quickly, subhanAllah. I found myself looking forward to Friday nights. Is it Friday yet? And I would just dread the long school week, waiting for it to end. And subhanAllah, every time we went, she did not disappoint us. In other words, I always had something to look forward to when I would attend her youth talks. And it was very much like this suhbah circle where we would all connect. And girls were able to talk about their problems together without judgment and grow together as Muslims, right? So today, if you weren't here, that's what I did in my demo lesson. I had all the youth kind of huddle up in a circle, and we just discussed the different unrealistic beauty standards that are affecting our young girls today, and we redefined worth and beauty and identity and as it pertains to Islam, right? And so that's what we did today. So remembering Naida, and I haven't talked to her in years, I should probably see if she's doing okay. But remembering her, she is part of my inspiration going forward. As I had that little taste of what sisterhood and sahaba should look like as a youth group, right? And I will say this over and over again tonight. My job as a youth group leader is not to sit up here and lecture them. That is not what the science is backing today. They are not going to respond to that. They do not develop personal relationships with someone who just sits here and lectures them, right? Okay, bismillah. So my education, I completed my bachelor's from UCLA in Middle Eastern Studies, alhamdulillah. I am currently pursuing a master's degree in history from Cal State Fullerton. I have been fortunate enough to pursue undergraduate research when it comes to Islamic history, and I love Ottoman history, and specifically Islam in the Balkans, because I am Bosnian. That is something that I am connected to. That is something that I love. I do hold an Islamic Studies diploma from the Sisters of Hadith Institute, ran by Salama, who is a sheikha herself. It is an all sisters institute. However, I don't claim that that piece of paper makes me an alima. I don't claim to be an alima. I just simply bring it up because I believe that it gives me the basic knowledge to address any of your daughter's concerns that they may have, that they may bring up in future youth events. I also want to make clear that any of the work that I do will always be fact-checked by one of our scholars in the community. So it will never just be me saying things. Just know that it was fact-checked by someone who has significantly more Islamic knowledge than I do. My professional experience, up to this point in my life, I have been mainly teaching. So I have experience teaching kindergarten all the way through adults, but preteens and teenagers are near and dear to my heart because I know that they are misunderstood. And so much of the time, they're misunderstood so much of the time, and because I just simply have spent majority of my time with this age group. I believe this position requires someone who has a track record of working with kids, and me being a teacher up until this point in my life, it means that I have like a temperature gauge, right, as to what youth are dealing with today, and what they are in desperate need of. Okay, so it leads me to my philosophy. My main goal is to meet the needs of these young girls, right? They are craving connections. They're doing this all day because they crave connections. They can't find it through a human being, so they do this all day, right? That's basically what's happening. And they want to feel validated and supported without judgment. So my responsibility as a youth director is to have them come in and to facilitate events where, number one, there's no judgment. Number two, they feel open, comfortable enough to share their experiences, and where I and everybody else are able to empower them to go through their experiences and to essentially, grow their deen, make them strong individuals, et cetera, et cetera. All the data right now is pointing to interactive learning. It has different names. You can call it collaborative learning, you can call it PBL, which is project-based learning. But essentially what it is everyone is an active member, or everyone becomes an active member of the conversation. So you have no passive participants. So it becomes very difficult for you to send your daughter to my youth group, and then she comes and she sits herself in the corner because whatever, she's shy, she doesn't want to talk to people, etc. I was the same way, and dissociate. It becomes hard for her to do that because my youth events will cater towards that individual, right? The individual that I used to be, the shy one that didn't want to take part in anything. Interactive learning, right? Learning through experiences is how our youth learn today. They do not learn, and they do not remember, and do not learn the lessons from me sitting here and lecturing and them sitting there and just hearing it, right? As an adult, I can appreciate that, college lectures, or hearing the different shaykh in the community give lectures. So some things have to be lectured, but when it comes to youth group, this is not my philosophy. If you'd like, me being the academic that I am, if you want to take a picture of the 2 scholarly articles that I posted up there regarding interactive learning, if you want to, read up on that, that's good, inshallah. So to conclude interactive learning, it shifts the focus from teacher-centered instruction to a more collaborative and dynamic learning environment, right? That's how I would summarize it. Okay, there is this concept called internalized Islamophobia. The studies on it are not much, because it is something fairly new to our community. We have internalized racism, but internalized Islamophobia is a new term. And essentially what it is someone, mainly youth, ingesting and accepting the dominant society stereotypes of one ethnic group. Okay? And so what that means is the youth today, when they do not have that strong foundation as Muslims, which who does, because they're still young, they are essentially gullible, and they feed into and they internalize Islamophobia that they hear on the news, right? So what are we hearing on the news right now? This terrorist, this, that, hijab is oppressive, those men are oppressive, we need to get them out of those countries, blah, 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 right? And so what ends up happening is when we internalize that, it ends up showing up in our thoughts and actions and the way we interact with other Muslims in our community. And this affects the youth big time, and I was a victim of it. So for example, a young girl who is doing her best to follow the deen may feel like an outsider amongst other girls her age because they have othered her. This idea of othering someone, right? And that's what Western society has done for God knows how long, right? They've othered Muslim women. That other lady over there, yeah, we need to go and help her, right? That's basically the concept. And going back to the title of this talk, you cannot be unapologetically Muslim if you have internalized Islamophobia. So we have a pattern of our youth putting down other youth simply because they are trying to follow the deen. And out of, they want to be cool or whatever, they've internalized Islamophobia, they're putting down other members of the youth in our community. If you have more questions on this, I know it's a little bit difficult to grasp. I'm totally okay with taking questions. I also have personal experience, so let me know, inshallah, in the next few minutes when I open Q&A. So as youth director, because I understand this is a problem and I see it happening as a teacher, I see it every day in the classroom. A young boy will finish wudu on time, do it quietly in the bathroom, come out quietly. I will give praise for that, and other boys will make fun of him for it, like sarcastically. That is internalized Islamophobia, right? Okay, inshallah. So as a youth director, my job is to actively combat this. So if I see girls coming to my youth group, I have to do my job to make sure that they are not internalizing Islamophobia, that they understand, and obviously they grow and they build a foundation for their strong iman. Lastly, relevance. This is a big one for our youth. Why should I care? Why do I have to pray 5 times a day? Why do I have to give zakah? I'm 13 years old. Why should I care about going to Musalla and doing Jama'at? These are the questions that they ask. So in your lifetime and in my lifetime, it was, okay, Allah said I should do this. Okay, I want the reward. Okay, I'm going to go do it, right? But now it's becoming, why do I have to do it? What is the purpose? How does this benefit me, right? And so as youth director, I have to make sure that any of the talks, any of the events, any of the topics that we touch on, I'm making it relevant to them. Why you should care as youth about children in Gaza. Why should you care about the next bill they pass in Congress, right? Why should you care about the number of homeless in LA, right? All of these things, right, is relevance. And if you don't have relevance, you're going to have detached, very uninterested teenagers. for both boys and girls. Going back to internalized Islamophobia, this is an article by Sheikh Omar Suleiman, if you want to take a picture of it. They do have a couple of other articles, but I just wanted to, pop that up there really, really quickly. I'm going to breeze through this, my mission. I already mentioned everything basically I wanted to mention, right? So all of our youth events, just to summarize, will cater directly to the goals I just mentioned, right? Creating suhba, connection, community. That interactive learning approach, everyone is given an equal opportunity to participate. I mentioned combating internalized Islamophobia, and everything will be done with relevance. And I want to point that, we want them to learn through their experiences, because those are the lessons that they remember for a long time. I don't remember what the Sheikh said last week, I'm going to be honest with you, right? But I remember that activity that I did with Naida Yakirlich that put that little spark in my heart and a little bit of a love for hijab. That was the first little, spark that Allah put in there, right? And then that takes you build on that. The more experiences you do, the more experiences you have that bring you closer to Allah, it's gonna benefit you, benefit the youth, inshallah, in the long run. So what all of this kind of translates to, whether it be, creating buddy systems to create purpose for teenage girls, obviously this would be a mentorship program, or getting them involved in Muslim activism at a higher level. Who knows about MDAC, Muslim Day at the Capitol? Raise your hands. Only Hadi knows about Muslim Day at the Capitol. Nobody else knows about Muslim. Okay, I went when I was 16 years old. An amazing experience. Basically, Hassan Alouche, the president of CARE, and his facilitators take a group of Muslim youth, literally teenagers, take them to the capital of California, Sacramento, go to the capital of Sacramento, and delegate actively for bills we are trying to pass as Muslims. So you are literally sitting there in the representative's office as a teenager, advocating for bills that we're trying to pass. Broadens your world. Broadens your world. It's incredible, right? So these are the experience that I want to bring to the youth, the youth, inshallah. Taking care of the underprivileged, hygiene drives, right? Taking all of that stuff to the homeless in LA. Learning about prominent Muslim women in history. Obviously, this is geared towards the sisters, since I will be the female youth director, inshallah. And I mentioned in my demo lesson is that when young women learn about prominent Muslim women in history, when they humanize them, it gives them someone to look up to. It gives them someone to look up to. It gives them a role model that they can follow. Or program with special need kids. The benefit that I've seen this has on certain kids. I had a kid with, he was just difficult to deal with, right? Behavioral issues, wouldn't listen, et cetera, et cetera. We had an autistic student come in, and all of a sudden, my behavioral kid is, my kid with behavioral issues is cuddling the autistic kid with special needs, and he's a completely changed kid because now he feels like he has a purpose because he's taking this kid under his wing, catering to him, hey, let's go here, hey, let me help you with this, right? It gives them a sense of responsibility, they learn gratitude, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end, I want to say, we are trying to build their identities as well as their resumes. At the end of the day, right? We're trying to build their identities as well as their resumes. Okay, the time has come. So I will put myself on the chopping block. I want to hear your comments, your suggestions, your critiques. I'll take it. Did I already say questions? Yes, I did. Your comments, concerns, right? Anything that I can do going forward to cater to your daughters, essentially, inshallah. Yes.
Regarding political activism and causes and volunteering, how critical is that for youth engagement, do you think, nowadays?
For specifically political activism?
Political activism, volunteering,
I think it's extremely irrelevant. I mean, relevant because, especially with the way things are going, I think we still have that small group of Muslims that think, Yani, what does it matter if I vote for this person or this person? And the fact of the matter is, we have voices, right? We have voices, and it's extremely important for youth to notice that as Muslims, we can change the course of history. We have in the past. Why are we belittling ourselves now? And it gives them a sense of purpose, right? So, and the difference is, it's one thing to see all these starving children on your Instagram page in Gaza versus actually doing something about it, right? It personalizes the experience. It makes you feel like you're doing something. It doesn't, that feeling of helplessness that all of us have, it takes that away when you actually do something about it as a group. So hopefully, inshallah, that answered your question. One question, and it was head. It doesn't even exist. It doesn't even count. Any questions, concerns, comments? You are the parents. If I get hired tomorrow, I will be your female youth director. I want to know, what do you need from me? What can I do for you? Yes.
For me, I don't have girls,
Yeah, it's okay.
but I would ask from your experience, what is the most challenging for the teenager girls in our community?
So the biggest challenge that they face,
Yeah.
the topic that we spoke about today. Oh, the question was, what is the biggest challenge that girls in our community, preteens and teenagers essentially, what is the biggest challenge that they go through today? And the answer is the topic that we discussed today. This constant push and pull of, I want to please Allah, I want to wear my hijab, I want to be modest, but I also want to look pretty, but I also want validation, but I also want to fit in. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. And even when they try to surround themselves with good friends, it still leaks in there somewhere. It still leaks in. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I have a joke with my friend. There's this cute little hijabi group. We call them the Vela girls. Like the Vela girls, they look so pretty and they have their hijab, and it's just, and I think they're so beautiful. But me, the way that I dress, and I'm trying to hold myself to, a higher standard. And this this joke that I have with my friend is, I could be a Vela girl if I wanted to, meaning like you wanna look like that. I wanna look like that, and I'm an adult, so it's very difficult for them. And this is a theme with the topic that I discussed today. I have to do it over and over. You have to do it over and over. It's not just one talk is going to fix the problem. It's support coming from parents, specifically the fathers. The support that you give your daughters, the validation that you give them, it means a lot to them. So yeah, inshallah. Thank you.
I have another question. So what's the difference between in terms of middle school girls versus, let's just say a 17-year-old in terms of how you do your program?
Um, so I think because preteens are not exposed to social media yet, a lot of preteens do not have phones, they don't have social media, and so that drive that I just spoke about with the sister about that challenge that they have may not be that difficult yet because they're still children, right? Whereas teenagers, they have social media, they're the ones that are seeing all these things, right? And so I mean, more or less, because I'll be doing the same both of those ages in the group. The talk will be the same, but even today, I made sure that I asked deeper questions because I did, an audience check, and I saw older girls. I saw that I had older girls in my group today. So yeah, inshallah. Slow night. Any other comments, questions, concerns? We have like till 9:30. Let me know.
I'll comment on the question.
Okay, thank you.
Well, the difference between girls and boys, and I did forget on girls,
Yeah.
is the way they dress. Like boys, they will dress whatever they want, they will look at. Now the girls, they have different type of how they wear their hijab or they wear their hijab.
Yeah.
How would you address that in class?
I mean, the way that I dressed it today, right? This talk wasn't about hijab, because I know that there are non-hijabis that would probably attend, and I cannot offend. The worst thing I could possibly do is make a girl feel bad because she's not a hijabi, right? And that's actually the way that I put it today was, what did I say? I said something really good. Maintain whatever level you're at and just grow on it, right? Continue to go up and up and up and up and up and up, right? And then I connected it to friends. So you pick friends that support you at whatever level you're at, and you continue to grow up and up and up and up. So it wasn't a talk about, you need to pin your hijab this way and you need to do like this, and that's not how you foster connections with the youth, right? Is by pinpointing every single, oh my God, you have a strand coming out. That's not how you do it. So yeah. Alhamdulillah. Anybody else? Yes. Ahmed Siki.
Yes,
Yes.
So we talked about this before, but I think it's important for everyone to hear.
Thank you.
How would you respond to parents that let's say that your niqab may be a barrier for kids connecting with you or so forth?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking that question. Okay, so I'm gonna take maybe like 4 minutes on this because number one, we have time, and number two, I want to give you the full picture, right? So first, I'll start with my story. So, like I said, Baba's Pakistani, Mama's Bosnian. I don't have any niqabis in my family. I put on the hijab very late, according to today's standards, very late, 17. I put on the hijab. Then a couple years later, I'm not gonna say how many, because then I'm gonna date myself, and everybody's gonna know how old I am, and I'm not gonna do that. So then, a couple years later, I was doing lots of research, and I'm like, what is this niqab? Why do some women wear niqab and some women don't wear niqab? Like, what is this? Is it mandatory? Is it not mandatory? Like, what is this? And subhanAllah, I'm telling you, I did so much research, and still it's undecided. And the reason why I ultimately ended up putting it on is because I fell in love with this one concept, which is when I privatize my face, people are forced to judge me solely based on my character, my personality, how I treat the community, how I treat, everybody, how I make people feel, whether I'm kind, whether I, speak good words, solely based on my character, and their judgment of me becomes solely based on that and not how I look. Nobody's rating me on a scale of 1 to 10. And I found that empowering, actually. That is empowering, right? Today, because of feminism, we've been told true empowerment is taking all your clothes off, let everybody see everything, no. And I can't tell you how far away from the truth that literally is, as someone who's lived it. And I fell in love with that aspect. And so literally, it brought me closer to Allah, something that I did, just for me. And my family, because nobody is niqabi, at first my parents were like, what is this? Are you like going tablighi? Are you going, like, what are you doing? Like, are you going extremist? Like, what is this? But alhamdulillah, a few years later, when your family realize that it's genuine and it's not just a phase, then they start to accept it. They start to accept it. Um, so niqab, believe it or not, and alhamdulillah, I love having this discussion because some people cannot believe that a niqabi attended UCLA. Because it's out of the question for them, because of this internalized Islamophobia, that you have to be westernized in order to be successful in the secular and academic sphere. That is how some Muslims think. And so when I come and tell them, yeah, I graduated from this university, you went like that? Yeah, I went like this. Right? How do you think I went? I went like this. If I, it doesn't matter if I have a Zionist professor or whatever, right? Like, so I had a lot of, what do you call those? Walls to break down. Anyway, so it was something that was personal to me. Now, going back to Brother Ahmed's question specifically, in my time with girls this age group, I have found that my niqab makes our connection stronger. Because just like how husband and wife are like this, and the connection is so close because you have access to that person that nobody else has access to, is the same way these girls feel about my niqab. We have access to Miss Sophia, to her face, that nobody else has access to. It makes that connection stronger. That's number one. Number two is the same thing that I've been saying. When they see a young Muslim woman who wears niqab, who is doing her studies, right? In other words, it doesn't seem like it hindered her in any way. That piques their curiosity. It piques their curiosity. How was she able to do that? How was she able to be niqabi at UCLA? How does that even work, right? I didn't even know that was a thing. So alhamdulillah, that's what I'd say. Now, if you're really worried about it, me being the female youth director has its perks, and I'm sure that if the masjid is able to provide a private atmosphere for these events, I obviously that is something that they have access to, right? Is my face, right? That is something they have access to. So alhamdulillah, yeah, it's something that's very personal to me. And I also want to say, on the topic of internalized Islamophobia, that the most negative comments about my niqab has come from Muslims. It has not been from non-Muslims. It is majority of it has been from Muslims because of internalized Islamophobia. They cannot reconcile that she can wear that in this country. They cannot reconcile that she can be successful in this country and look the way that she does. I literally had a lady come up to me. I'm co-founder of the Bruin Dawah project at UCLA, so we had like a Dawah table set up. And subhanAllah, it's amazing. Like, I feel like Muslims need more Dawah than non-Muslims. This lady comes up to me, and in conversation, I find out that she's from Iran, and she is Muslim. She tells us that she's Muslim. But then she's like, "Why are you wearing this? You wear it for the men. You look like you're from Saudi." Like all these stereotypes that you could possibly think of. And I'm just staring at her like, no, that's not. And then her eyes like came out of her skull when I told her I was a student there. You see all of these stereotypes, all of these things. So we need to think a little bit higher, think a little bit better of of each other, inshallah. Yeah, I think that's how I'm gonna end your question. Jazakallah khairan. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yes. Wa alaikum salam.
Very good presentation.
Alhamdulillah.
My question is that how would you address or how open you will be to address girls, teenagers or 18, going on one-on-one versus group? You know what I mean? Like, for example, there are issues you want to discuss and you see there are some kids may need special attention. How open are you going one-on-one with girls versus in a group?
That's a really good question. And that's actually one that's difficult to navigate because as my time as a teacher, sometimes it's like we're walking on eggshells because when you address a certain student specifically for that behavior, they start to feel targeted, right? Why is Miss Sophia hates me? Why does she keep doing this to me? oh, you're not talking to everybody else, you just have a problem with me, right? So it becomes very difficult to navigate that. If I see something that is, well, first of all, God forbid, it's something completely inappropriate, behavior that I cannot tolerate as youth director inside of the sohba, inside of the youth event, with all the girls. If it's something that's making the environment toxic, then I have to take that to the parents. Inshallah, that doesn't happen, right? But if it's something like that, then I would have to take that to the parents. If it's something small, right? Maybe, regarding the topic that we had today, I see some girls are kind of putting each other down. You should wear this, no, you should wear this, no, you look better like this, right? I don't really like comments like that. And I wouldn't tolerate it. But if it's something small like that, then I would probably address that in a group setting. And I feel one-on-one has to be very specific, right? Maybe if one girl keeps interrupting everybody, or I can just see that she's off. My first instinct is to go to her and see, are you having a bad day? What's going on? Because more likely than not, it's not her doing it out of malice. A lot of us, unfortunately, a lot of Muslim youth come from broken homes. That is just another reality that we have to face, and it could very well just be that, right? So I don't have a problem doing it one-on-one, and it is absolutely necessary in some instances. But I would have to be careful with how I do it because of, I don't want to feel that, I don't want them to feel that the city is targeting them, if that makes sense. Okay, alhamdulillah. Yay. Walaikum salam.
How do you respond to like a girl? She said, I would like to stay there because I'm thinking of staying out, but she's already in the age she's supposed to practice like wearing hijab or salah or to keep her safe for a very long time. How you can encourage her or like give her advice to start practicing?
So majority of lessons are taught through through story, and this is actually a prophetic thing, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he used to tell stories, and there are a lot of lessons that we learn from them. So I don't mind giving personal stories, and actually that is one way that I'm able to connect with my students, with the girls. So one of the stories that I brought up, and it had like amazing statistics after this is why I'm bringing it up. I saw that there was in this particular middle school class, there was a culture of, we don't really care about salah, we're just kind of like, it doesn't matter, like wudu, who cares, just go like this at khalastan. Like there wasn't really an urgency to better themselves, right, Islamically speaking, right? So I told them this personal story of basically, how I said it, and I'm not going to say it today, right? But how I said it is, I know this girl. I want to tell you guys a story. I knew this girl, and this girl was 16 years old, and basically, long story short, she got into a car accident with her mom, almost died, blah blah blah, and at the end I say, and that girl was me, and they go, right? And I say, the reason why I tell you the story is for a few things. Number one, don't wait for things like that to happen until you take your deen seriously. It's gonna be too late, right? Develop your foundation now. Don't wait until adulthood. God forbid something happens. You don't know how to deal with it because you didn't make that foundation as a youth. And they're thinking. And that day, subhanAllah, they're all like Allahu Akbar, and they're all, they're very, khushu was amazing that day, subhanAllah, in the masalla, right? And so giving these personal stories of, that's how they connect with you. Don't wait for things like God forbid that things like that to happen before you take your deen seriously. The other point that I mentioned is, specifically on that day, my mother and I weren't talking because I did something dumb and we were just ignoring each other, blah blah blah, and we almost died that day, right? So basically, I said, and that day changed the way I think about my personal relationships. My personal relationships. What if she had died? The last thing my mother would have felt for me would have been anger, because she was angry at me, right? Because I did something. So deep stories like this, right? And the thing is, it doesn't even have to be my story. We have so many stories now in Gaza. We have so many examples around us. People suffering. And there's always a lesson to be made from it, right? And the reason why girls feel like this, oh, I'll just wait when I'm older, whatever, is because life is too easy right now for them. Life is too easy. And as soon as you put a little bit of struggle, as soon as Allah puts them through a little bit of test, it changes everything, right? But obviously, you want them to do that before that happens. So, alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair for your question.
How do you encourage okay, who's struggling to with their face, but also they don't want to come to Holocaust, and their parents have forced them to come, and how to like get their attention for the first time and keep them going.
So, I actually believe that responsibility is on me, not you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember, the first time my mother said, "You're going to this youth group," and I was like, "I don't want to go." But then I get there and it's Maida Yakirlich, and I'm like, "Oh my God, she's amazing," right? And now I wanted to go more and more. I wanted to go, right? So it might just be that for the first couple of times you're forcing your kid to go. Um, Obviously, as a parent, you have every how do I say right to do so, because it's the musalla. And I think it's my responsibility to make sure that I get their attention and their attention stays and they like coming next time. And that's the thing that I mentioned in my philosophy, right? My number one thing is I want your girls to have something to look forward to. What is Miss Safia gonna do today, right? Because that's how I felt with Naida. What is she gonna do today? I was looking forward. I was actually looking forward to coming to her talks, and I don't think I've felt that ever again. I actually don't think I felt that ever again, just with her. So yeah, I feel like that's my responsibility. Yeah. We have like 20 minutes. More questions, concerns, comments? Good? Alhamdulillah. That's great. Okay. Jazakallah khairan for coming. I will be here, I think, until past Isha. So if there's a question, Isha, and until if there's a question that you were reserving, then please let me know. Um, but Jazakallah khairan for coming today. This has been a lot of fun. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.